With the modern era of computers and technology we live in today, it has brought with it heightened levels of personal surveillance, which can sometimes cross into personal privacy. Among these ever-growing security risks is GPS trackers, which has become an increasingly common concern for many people. Whether it's an employer keeping tabs on their fleet of vehicles and equipment, or perhaps a suspicious partner monitoring their partner's movements, the availability and ease of hiding GPS tracking devices on a vehicle has made it feasible for almost anyone to track anyone or to track you. If the idea of being tracked without your consent is troubling, you are not alone. This video will guide you through a detailed search process for your car's exterior and interior, covering many places where GPS trackers could be hidden. First, let's go over the exterior inspection of the vehicle. You first should do an undercarriage inspection of your vehicle. Despite popular belief, the underside of a car is a prime spot for GPS trackers due to devices being able to bounce their signal off the ground. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Ideally, you would inspect the bottom side of your vehicle with a vehicle lift, but most of us do not have a lift installed in our garage. You might be able to rent some time at a local garage to use their lift, or you just have to do it the old-fashioned way, on your back, on a blanket, or maybe utilizing a mechanic's creeper. Arm yourself with a flashlight, gloves, and an inspection camera and carefully inspect everything under the car. You want to look for anything unusual, such as metal boxes that are attached with a magnet to the car's frame, the gas tank, or any other metal surface. These magnetic-style GPS trackers are often easy to find, as they may be the cleanest thing on the car's underside. But don't be fooled by the potential size of these magnetic devices. In the old days, these were usually larger boxes the size of a small book, but 3 to 4 inches thick. Today, there are many much smaller magnetic GPS trackers, like this one. Yeah, this little guy is about the size of a can of mints, has a built-in magnet, and the battery can last for weeks on a single charge. You'll also want to use an inspection mirror to help inspect the undercarriage. If the inspection mirror has a reflective light attached, that can also help. In fact, having a couple of good inspection mirrors will help a lot as you hunt for those nasty tracking devices on your car. Next, we move on to the wheel well inspection. Here we're looking to see if anything is attached inside the wheel well and checking the wheel well guards to see if they appear to have been tampered with. People often stick a magnetic GPS tracker on a shock absorber or some other metallic area inside the wheel well. While this is not very secure and the GPS unit could easily fall off, it can appear to be the easy place to put one. Or they may take a small Apple AirTag, a tile tracker, or some other tracking device and use double-sided tape to stick it on the underside of the vehicle's wheel well. If the vehicle has been outside and out of sight for an extended period, you might also consider removing the wheels to inspect the area more comprehensively. If you do this, you must distinguish between legitimate sensors like brake wear indicators and foreign devices. You might consider having a qualified mechanic do this part for you. Bumpers make the perfect hideout too for these elusive GPS tracking devices. Both front and rear bumpers offer cavities where small GPS devices could easily be hidden. You need to examine these spaces thoroughly for anything that looks out of the ordinary. You will probably need tools like an inspection camera or a small inspection mirror and a flashlight to help you see in these areas. If you want to see some of the tools I use for inspecting a vehicle for a GPS tracker, go over to the official PI Guy website at freeprivateinvestigatortraining.com. Go to the PI Gear section, and then in the Bug Sweep or TSCM section, there you can find inspection mirrors, cameras, flashlights, magnet detectors, RF detectors, and more. While not as commonplace, the roof of a vehicle, particularly in a taller model like a SUV, should not be overlooked as a potential hiding spot for tracking devices. This is an ideal location for tall vehicles to attach a small device with a magnet or double-sided tape, as most people are not hopping up to look at the top of their vehicle daily. You should also examine all around the sunroof, checking the retraction slot and other stripping. This is a good spot to put those pesky smaller devices like a dial tracker or an Apple AirTag. Next, move to an underhood inspection. Despite being an obvious location to check, it is usually not as likely a place for a tracker to be placed due to the heat. Attaching a tracking device to an exhaust pipe or directly to the engine would most likely damage the device in short order, but it is an area that needs to be looked at. Check any fuse panels to ensure no fuses have a tap on them or some nefarious device is just plain hardwired in. If you are unsure what you're looking at, it is best to seek the advice of a qualified mechanic to ensure you do not accidentally disconnect vital parts of your car's electronics. You need to inspect several areas on your vehicle's interior too. First, thoroughly inspect the upholstery of your vehicle. This includes unzipping seat cushions and headrests to look for small tracking devices that may have been inserted in those places. Also check for cuts in the fabric. Look beneath and between all seats. You will most likely need a good flashlight for this. It is quite easy to drop a tracking device between the seats. Also, there are usually metal tracks under the seats where a magnetic tracker or audio recorder could easily be hidden. Make sure you pull up the floor mats and look under those and check for cuts in the carpet that may have been made to stick a device under the carpet. A good inspection under the dashboard is critical too. You are looking for anything placed there, but also want to pay close attention to any fuse panels and the OBD2 port. The OBD2 port is an onboard diagnostic port used by mechanics to plug diagnostic tools into to get codes and information from your car. But there are OBD2 port GPS trackers that plug right into these ports. Then once the car is turned on, they use the vehicle's power. No battery needed. And they only operate when the car is running. Check the car's glove box, sun visor, sunglass holder, CD player, door storage compartments, middle console storage, any other storage areas inside the vehicle. The rear trunk area must also be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. I have heard some people say this is not a likely place to put a GPS tracker as there wouldn't be too much interference, but that is not true. In fact, we have found more GPS trackers in the rear, the way back area of a vehicle, than any other. Here is a photo of an actual GPS unit we found sitting next to the vehicle's jack inside the storage area in the way back area of an SUV. Make sure you check the side storage panels where the jack and other tools are stored. Pull the spare tire out and check under there too. While manual searching is effective, you can also employ electronic bug sweeping tools designed to detect radio frequencies that might indicate the presence of an active GPS tracker. These devices come with a range of prices and capabilities to suit your level of concern and budget. But you need to be aware that these do not always tell you exactly where the device is, or even if there is a device for sure. They will most often just tell you there may be a device nearby. One we often use is this device called the Yorkie. It is actually a cell phone detector and is often used in prisons, jails, and even in commercial offices or call centers where cell phones are not allowed. This will detect a cell phone signal like 1G, 2G, 3G, or 4G. If you use something like this, you must ensure you are in a very signal-free area. It will also detect other radio frequencies like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which can confuse you during a sweep. Here's something that most people don't know and why something like a Yorkie can help find GPS trackers. Regular GPS trackers all use cellular signals, but it will not help pinpoint where the device is. It simply tells you there could be a device nearby. Here's something that happened to me recently on a vehicle sweep, and well, it happens often. We had the vehicle in a garage, and the client had all the Wi-Fi devices, Bluetooth devices, cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and even the router turned off. During our sweep, I kept getting an intermittent signal from the Yorkie about every 1 to 2 minutes, but the signal strength varied depending on where I was. I was able to determine the signal was most likely coming from the passenger side of the vehicle, as the strength was higher when I was on that side of the vehicle. Then I deployed the old big bag of water trick while holding the Yorkie. You see, our bodies are really these big bags of water, and well, I have a fairly large bag of water right here. So I stood outside the vehicle with the Yorkie pointing toward the vehicle and waited for a signal burst and noted the strength. Then I turned away from the vehicle and did the same thing, and voila, the strength signal was higher. I then took a few steps away from the vehicle and waited for the next signal burst, which was even stronger. But then I turned back facing the car and the signal strength dropped. This told me that the signal was not coming from the vehicle. I then did some looking around outside the garage and noticed the utility meters were right outside where I was facing. You see, your utility meters for water, gas, electricity often have radios in them that periodically send out a signal so the meter readers can just drive around and get the meter readings. This is what we saw on the Yorkie, but it could have just as easily picked up a cell phone or RF transmission from a neighboring house, so you have to be very careful when using them on a bug sweep. Now, if you do find what you suspect is a GPS tracker, what do you do then? The response could be a range from simply removing and disposing of it to contacting law enforcement or legal counsel. What you do will depend on your circumstances and local laws, which vary in the locality of using such surveillance devices. In one case, the client sent the GPS tracker on a trip from one friend to another friend to another friend around the country for months to keep his ex-wife always wondering where he was and what he was up to. His friends were even kind enough to ensure it was always fully charged